Greetings and welcome into the Sports Shuffle. We'll see how long this voice lasts without cracking. I am Flying Ryan Gokers along with
Tampa Motormouth Joel Verone, the off-air show. We were talking about why it's not good for people to smoke weed on commercial flights or to try to order quarters off of Amazon.
Yeah, people are dumb. I mean, I've heard some dumb, and there's a lot of dumb airline stories out there. So, someone going into the plane bathroom smoking weed. If you've never been around weed, it has a very distinct smell. There's no confusing. Like, is that a perfume or maybe that's a burning? That's weed.
It's not like when you go.
100% of the time.
It's not like when you go to the mall and they attack you with a perfume, right?
Yeah, you're not like, what is that called? Weed? No, that's Eau de Toilette from uh, Lancome. Oh, fantastic. No, it's a very distinct smell. So, that was dumb. There's a lot. I heard one where they had to ground a flight. This is a few years ago, I think. They had to ground a flight because they had the smell of burning matches on the plane. And it turns out it was some little old lady lighting a match because she had excessively bad gas. And she had the old school mentality of you light a match to get rid of the smell. And she just didn't want to be the farter on the plane. She got banned from Spirit. Yeah, back to the voice real quick. Doubling up on the liquids, so we'll hopefully not have a coughing fit in the middle. But
I'm single up on the liquid. I'm not double up, but I am
double fisted.
prepared.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
the story we mentioned was that actually there's a JetBlue plane that apparently had to divert back to Boston that was heading to Tampa because he had a genius smoke weed in the
All
laboratory.
right, the question I have: were they going or coming home? Were they leaving home or were they coming home? Because this screams Florida man. I had to get high on the JetBlue plane, so I couldn't wait. I figured the bathroom,
and
I'll just flush the toilet and all the air will go right out. No, no.
and there
Okay.
there is actual a Hank Williams Jr. song. I kid you not. That are you ready for the title?
Mm-hmm.
High and pressurized.
There's some weird songs out there.
Today's generic sponsor is hydration.
Yeah, it's a good thing in general, but when your voice is raspy, it's not like sick. It's just you do a lot of talking. You deal with a lot of idiots in your day to day life sometimes. And sometimes you just talk too much and your voice is all raspy. And you're like, okay, I need a little extra liquid to get through the talky talk part of things. So,
Sort of your internal red light goes on like, okay, shut us up this now.
yeah. So, anyways, there's some weird stories in football going on right now. AJ Brown was asked if he isn't the same player this season. It was last year. He goes, I guess Saquon ain't the same player either. No need to throw shade at Saquon. That offense has been bad. We've got the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens one drive
Now, yeah,
suspension.
because that whole thing, because you had the narrative out there, right, that you had the Cowboys win the Monday game for Marshawn Nealon, who of course tragically passed last week with the suicide, and we know about unfortunately all the details. And the Cowboys are one team, and they are all one unit. But if they're one unit, then why were Lamb and Pickens sat down for a series? Because Schottenheimer said they missed something,
Well,
and
we
we
actually have more details than that. They were at Red Rock Casino having dinner and drinks and
ooh,
missed curfew before the game in Las Vegas. Nothing wrong with
that's what
going out for dinner and drinks if
that's
you
what
want to
they
do so,
missed.
but they missed curfew. I don't know how severely. They missed one drive, and then they both absolutely dominated the game. Slightly better than Keon Coleman, who missed a team meeting and is now going to be a healthy scratch for the second game in a row.
Second, second, because he was as healthy as scratch
Yeah,
from the Buck. Right before the Bucks game, you were thinking, okay, maybe the Bucks had a chance because you had no Dalton Kincaid. Then all of a sudden, no Keon Coleman. So the question was, well, who's Josh Allen going to have to throw to? Didn't really freaking matter.
he could throw to himself and
Yeah,
be fine. Um,
pretty much.
Joe
You
Mixon
know,
is officially not expected to play this season.
yeah, that's not a surprise that anyone
No.
ever. We've got to get to the Giants.
Oh, go ahead. What's the news on the Giants that you've got?
We would you not agree that the Giants are juicy?
You just badly broke up through all of that on my end.
I was talking about how the Giants are juicy
Oh, I have no idea.
because you're starting off with Jameis Winston apparently leading Bible study for his fellow teammates. Then you had Abdul Carter, who was actually basically suspended for 6 plays on Sunday's game because apparently he was sleeping during something important.
Hmm.
And then, and then you have Cam Scattaboo and Abdul Carter
That
on,
wrestling, I saw that one.
on WWE Raw getting into one of these choreographed kerfuffles that had to make the front office of the Giants spiel a couple expletives, I would think, especially when Cam Scattaboo's going around on that rig so he gets better, so he can play next year. And even if you're having them involved with a choreographed kerfuffle, as we have seen, they can end badly in some cases. So you had to imagine the expletives coming out of the front office of the Giants right after that happened.
Eh, I mean, it's all fake, anyways. It's not like they were really in any danger.
Just
Um,
maybe selfish, not exactly well thought out.
do you expect Cam Scatabo to have well thought out ideas?
Point.
If it's not about what crayon color he wants to eat, I don't think he gives him things much thought. He doesn't seem like a guy who goes home and reads the Iliad or anything like that. I'm pretty sure the most advanced thing he's read is the back of the crayon box, where he can pick which color he wants to eat.
I just think that if you're trying to recover, the last thing that you want is seeing people, oh, look, he's in what could be conceived as a fight.
Yeah, but everybody knows that crap's fake anyway. So,
I know, it's wrestling.
yeah. Also, Joe Burrow is taking the
Oh, baby.
QB1 reps for the Bengals. Joe Flacco, while he was questionable, while he has been nursing an injury, he is taking the QB2 reps. So, Joe Burrow, not for sure, but looking like he may be back this week
We
against the who's their opponent this week, anyways?
that would
The
be
the Patriots. Yeah, they're playing the Patriots at home. So that would be a big addition. No Jamar Chase
yeah,
suspended one game for spitting on Jalen Ramsey, but Joe Burrow, I think, can overcome that.
yeah. Well, the thing is that you really hope that it's an emergency need, an emergent need, because you look at that Bengal schedule, you look where they are right now. Granted, I know you can make the case. Well, look at the top of that division that they're not out of it, but you look at that schedule. I think you're lucky if they get 4, 5, 6 at the very long shot when you're looking at those games and you're trying to make a case for the games that the Bengals could win. Because facing the Ravens twice, it's very hard for the Ravens to sweep them. Especially, I think in that division, I think they could probably beat the Dolphins. Your Dolphins, you never know what team's going to show up. They can beat the Cards. I think they have a good shot at that, especially with the Cards and their injury and poor Jacob Rebrissett doing all his passes, setting the record in the blowout lots. Yay, we just got the record for most passes, and we still got our asses kicked. Woohoo! Yeah, but
Yeah, that's not a great thing.
just crazy that that'd be like, yeah, okay, here's your banner for setting a record in a blowout. Good job. But yeah, I mean, Dolphins, Cards, maybe Ravens,
I mean, I think
maybe.
I think if Joe Burrow comes back this week, they're in play against New England. New England, of course, upset Cincinnati the first week of last season, super unexpectedly. And it ended up being a game that was massively important because the Bengals missed the playoff by one game. I think the Bengals can win this game if their defense can be decent at all. Their offense is going to put up a ton of points. The Ravens, I mean, they're a 500 team. Yes, I know they're on the ascension. Yes, I know they're looking better than they have earlier in the season, but they're still only a 500 team, and divisional matchups get weird. Miami, Arizona, You got to beat those two teams if you have any hopes to get into the playoffs. You see John Gruden thinking Miami's going to go on like a 6 game winning streak and get to 8-7, be right in the thick of the playoff picture. I'm just like, John, just no, just don't give us hope on that. But I think the Bengals getting Joe Burrow back, if they can pull an upset win here, they get a lot of confidence, a lot of belief that division is not strong. I don't think they're necessarily out of it yet.
So you think if they can maybe string together something, it's worth risking Burrow again?
I mean, he had a ligament injury in his toe. If it's healed, it's healed. They can probably do something to protect it. It's not like he had an ACL tear and he's trying to rush back, or an Achilles tear and he's trying to rush back. It's a toe. You can protect the toe. I smashed the hell out of my toe about the same time Joe Burrow went out with it, and it's fine now. I didn't even have surgery, so I think he's fine. The Bengals are not going to risk their franchise guy and put him out there if he's not ready to go. And if he's logging full practices, he is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Put him out there. Give yourself a shot. You can't.
Because you know what they have when they have Jake Browning out there, which is not a lot of hope.
Yeah, and Joe Flacco's been good, but he's not Joe Burrow. And even if they are out of it, you can't just be like, well, we got to protect Joe Burrow and put him on the shelf and not let him get game play. Just put him out there. He's out there to play the damn game. Let him play the game.
And of course, the whole Jamar Chase, what you mentioned,
Yeah.
spitting, getting into it, then denying that he spit. And of course, pro tip: you have 20 million cameras on you. One of those cameras is going to show that you did. And then even after the NFL said no, we're going to uphold, and you are going to be suspended. He was making the whole thing that, if you remember what happened with the Dak Prescott and Jalen Carter going back in the midst of time, where Dak Prescott said he wasn't spitting at Carter, he was spitting on the ground, and that was the basic defense that Jamar Chase used. If I was spitting at him, I would spit at him in his face, and I was spitting in the ground, and he was using that, and the NFL wasn't buying it. And you even saw Coach Tomlin with the his response. Well, if someone spits at me, do what comes naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do it. I don't think he was trying to spit in Jalen Ramsey's face. Maybe it was something that he just had spit and it came out. I don't know. But when you can see it, you're going to get suspended. That's just
Yeah,
how owners do it.
because he was showed up not much in that game. If you started him in fantasy, he was like, "You're going, you sure he's in the game?" And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, now he's going to be sitting down
Yeah.
for a week, so that means T. Higgins gets to roll.
Yeah, I've got a team where, fortunately, I'm looking very good to make the playoffs. But last week I had Jamar Chase, and then injuries to Aaron Rodgers
Uh
and
oh,
Jalen Warren, and technically Drake London, and played against Josh Allen, and
yeah,
still had a shot to win, but came up short. And now
yeah,
this week it's Jamar Chase, no Drake London, who's going to miss with a knee injury, and very iffy at if Jalen Warren's going to be a possibility.
yeah. Because in the Guillotine League, that somehow I think I am El Dunzo because I am one of 3 teams remaining. And you look at the 2 other teams, I'm so far down. I'm probably like, okay, I have to be on the chopping block, even if I flipping win. But total gambit, I actually picked up on the waiver wire. I picked up, even though Baker's been my man, I don't like that Los Angeles Rams matchup
No.
for Baker after what they did to Sam Darnold. Don't like it. So I bench Baker, picked up Drake May, and I'm starting a Drake May Stephon Diggs stack with JSN tacked in the middle with a shot, and hopefully giving my butt some points.
Not a bad option. All right, last week 11, I went 11-4 on the picks. Joel
And
went 9-6.
and we still have some more quarterback news because, of course, before we get to the recaps, you had Aaron Rodgers. You mentioned sounds like he is angling to play,
Yeah,
even though Pittsburgh tends not to do historically too well in Chicago.
yeah, but Aaron Rodgers does.
But sounds like he wants to play, and he's pushing Tomlin to play, and Tomlin is deciding whether or not Aaron Rodgers will start, whether or not he can be protected. But I think at this point it's like a 60-70% chance, if not
I
higher,
think he
that it's going to
plays.
be Rodgers, and it's not going to be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
No, I think he plays. They find a way to brace that wrist so if he does take a shot or get hit, it's not going to create more of a problem. But I think he's going to play in this game.
And it's not the only quarterback because, oh boy, Captain Kirk, buckle up in not Atlanta Falcons as Michael Penix Jr. goes down again. You saw how many season ending surgeries he has had just since being in college in the NFL. Is I think it's been both knees now, so it's like he's done again. Captain Kirk, welcome back. That means, of course, a downgrade for Drake London when he comes back. Hopefully, it means going to be more Bijan, not more Algier.
This whole
But
offense gets worse.
yeah, even Bijan gets worse. You think?
I think this whole offense gets worse. The defense is going to dare the other team to have Kirk Cousins beat them. I don't know if the person is going to be the least bad for, I think, will be Drake London because if they're going to say, okay, we're going to stop Bijan, that means Drake London will have the opportunity to just dominate the corner, and if Kirk Cousins can hit him, he can still be fine. If Kirk Cousins can still hit him consistently, which is not 100% a guarantee, but it's not good whenever a backup. I mean, if the Bucks lost Baker Mayfield, the entire offense takes a step back. It's no different here, but we've seen Kirk Cousins be very, very bad. Not having
Because
his
for the
number one
Bucs,
offensive weapon, that's not going to make things any better.
yeah, for the Bucks, I think it's Bridgewater, right? So yeah,
Bridgewater,
yeah,
he's a capable backup. I know for the
but
Dolphins it would
not
be Zach
Baker
Wilson.
Mayfield by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, most teams, if you go to the, I mean, we saw with the Bengals, Joe Burrow to Browning, it was just it's a whole different thing. So we'll see. No Michael Penix for
And
the rest of the season. They partially torn ACL. Will be back for 2026.
and of course, are you like me? Are you tired of the Shador Sanders talk? If there's ever been a topic that is appropriate for Family Guy soundbite, oh my God, who the hell cares? That's just
Yeah.
like that's like that. That is like all the narratives that they're trying to spin around, and you saw when you have a QB rating of passer rating 13.5. That's not good.
No. Yeah. He went in the game and then sharted in his Shador pants. It was not good. And then there's some people. Oh, you didn't get any reps with the first team. Most backups don't. Uh,
Stefanski was, as Bugs Bunny would say, sabotaging him.
no. No, most backups don't get first team reps, especially when you have a rookie who is still trying to figure it out in Dylan Gabriel. They're not going to be like, hey, Shador, you want 20% of the reps that this guy badly needs? No, that's not how it works. We'll
It's
see if he looks better. I don't think he's the
okay.
answer. But they play the
He's
Raiders.
had a
It's
whole
going to be an ugly game.
he's had a whole week now. He's prepared. He's ready. He's got the reps. If ever he is going to prove that he is an NFL quarterback by any stretch of the imagination,
No,
it's put up or shut up time,
no,
especially when you're playing the Raiders.
no, he's not going to show up. I expect that to be a 6-3 or a 9-6 style game.
Did you see there was a Cleveland news station that asked how many passing yards do you think Shador Sanders is going to have? You can imagine some of the responses in the answer because you had some of the more realistic ones. He was going to have more drops than yards. I mean, you had some people that were like realistic.
What's going to be higher, his jersey number or his passing yards?
Then Then you had the people who, speaking of weed, might have been on some. He's going to have 3 touchdowns and 337 yards.
Yeah.
Then there was another one with some insane amount of yards, and he was going to have 5 touchdowns. And I'm looking at that like the Kevin Hart meme right
Dak
now.
Prescott with a week and a half to 2 weeks with the bye week, better weapons, and inspirational from the passing or motivation from the passing of a teammate. Didn't get those numbers against the Raiders. And you think Shador Sanders is going to do what? No, it's not going to happen. Uh,
All of this absolute unbelievable hype. Yes, I know he has pedigree. He's got the genes. He's Deion Sanders' kid. That does not necessarily mean he was a born quarterback.
No, Deion Sanders was a cornerback. It's different.
Corner, not
Yeah,
quarter.
and
Deion Sanders was damn good quarterback.
and
Cornerback.
mind you, there were tons of opportunities for every single team, to take Shador Sanders, and none of them wanted to
Oh,
until the
it,
fourth
it, it
round.
was, you know why he dropped far? That so far, it
Talent.
was collusion. It
It
was
was
collusion.
it was talent. That's all it
Collusion.
was. It's anybody. I saw someone who said, "Oh, I guess he's bad now." Does that mean it's not racism? It's like it was never racism. It was talent.
It,
He had a
it's
barely 500 record at Colorado.
it's not only not racism. You had a very legit point that some people realized that he was Deion Sanders' kid, which meant that Dion was going to be tagging along, and that you had some teams
Oh, there's
did
some people that
not
don't want the
want.
circus. They don't want the circus. I don't blame them on that. But if you look at the workout tapes with him and Cam Ward, who went first overall, and you watch them pass, Cam Ward throws a much more accurate and fast pass. The NFL, you
He just
cannot
doesn't have
throw a
anybody to
weak,
throw it
wimpy,
to.
inaccurate ball. And he is not a great quarterback. George Sanders is not. He's not going to be the guy.
And did you see Calvin Ridley done?
Yeah, I mean, he was done in my books well before that. But anyways,
It's just ever since he had the whole gambling suspension, he just hasn't been the same.
I mean, he did miss most of the season for his mental health, and then the gambling suspension on top of it. So yeah, it's over for him, I think. All right,
Yep.
week 11. I went 11-4. Joel went 9-6. Their overall record is now 111-52-1 for me. 104-59-1 for Joel. I'm really hoping I can get to 200 this year, because I mean, I've got 32 more losses to play with the damn tie to get there, and we are about 2/3 of the way through the regular season plus the playoffs. You get hot, and this is the time where you've kind of figured out these teams. There's no excuse not to have some good weeks. Um, but yeah, let's look back at week number 11.
We already
And
talked about the Patriots and the Jets, I believe.
yeah, 27-14, Trevion Henderson, 3 touchdowns. Expect his role to expand going forward, because he looks legit. The Jets benching Justin Fields in favor of Tyrod Taylor. That is news. I don't think it's going to help things, but just the Jets going to jet.
Because all of a sudden, the Jets' great win streak of 2025 is over.
Speaking of great 2025 win streaks, the Dolphins are up to 2 in a row after getting bailed out by the defense and bad kicking by the Commanders to win this game
Not
16-13.
Jalen Waddle, who didn't do much this game.
No, it was Achan. It's always Achan. He is the man. But yeah, we're inside of 2 minutes. We're inside the 5. It's fourth down. We're going to go for the touchdown instead of taking the go-ahead field goal, letting Washington drive down the field, who fortunately missed like a 50-something yarder, then picking off Mariota the first play of overtime just to kick a short field goal. Would have won it anyways. Yeah, Mike McDaniels is he's an interesting coach. But the Dolphins moved to 4-7. Again, I mentioned Gruden said something about the watch the Dolphins can go on a big run because they have such a soft schedule coming up. Yeah, well, they have the Bengals and the Saints, and I think they have a game against the Jets in there. Like, yeah, it's possible. Not necessarily what Dolphins fans really want at this point, just because that means Tua and McDaniels are probably going to come back for another year. But the Commanders fall to 3-8. The Dolphins move to 4-7.
Yep, Wildflower probably got into some of his stash. He's probably sad after this game. And how about Tua Tagovailoa was asked about where else he'd like to play after experiencing Frankfurt and Madrid, and Tagovailoa said, "Shoot, it'd be pretty cool to play in Jerusalem. That'd be sick."
That's not happening.
And yeah, I know. My first thought was, yeah, no way in bleep.
How about
And
Ukraine? You
then,
want to go to Eastern Ukraine right now? Like, that makes just as much sense. Or maybe war-torn Iraq. We can go there.
hey,
Antarctica. That sounds
hey,
nice this time of year.
And then you had Mike McDaniel sneaking into the second row of the press conference room and asking Ollie Gordon, tell a little bit about how well you're coached.
He's a
Maybe
when
he
things are
did.
good, he's a great character head coach. And the Dolphins always rated amongst the best, like for treatment of their players, and Mike McDaniel is a big part of that. But when you're 4-7, like you can't do the goofy weirdo things that he does and get away with it. Even though when he trolled the Bills fans, that was awesome.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, it's not even if they have a bad season, and unfortunately, even if it gets canned, you can't really blame everything on McDaniel.
No, I think it falls more to Tua. I don't think McDaniels is a bad coach. I just don't think he's got the person at quarterback that can elevate this team to the level they need to get to. Next up, the Panthers 30-27 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Rico
Speaking of
Dowdle's
another
still very
coach who
good.
might have a seat getting a little bit on the hot
Yeah, Randy
side,
Morris could be there. The Panthers are 6-5. If you haven't seen the meme going around that their games are determined before they even start with a coin toss, they are 6-0 when they win the toss, 0-5 when they lose it. They won it this week. Tedero McMillan 2 touchdowns in this one, and Bryce Young with just a massive performance this week. And the Panthers, they're not in the playoffs right now, but they are sniffing around. They are very, very close. The Bucks, they're 6-4. They're only a half game out of the lead in the division. Are the Carolina Panthers?
and fact to keep in mind with Drake London, if when he does return this season, his highest finished Ryan in his last 7 games with Cousins at quarterback was wide receiver 15. Average finish was wide receiver 34.
Yeah, not ideal. Hopefully,
And
hopefully
oh,
Cousins can do better than that.
and in case you're kind of wondering why people might be calling for Raheem Morris's job right now, don't forget, initially when he was made a head coach, it wasn't a single promotion, it was a double promotion because he wasn't even an assistant coordinator.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with him. The Falcons are 3-7. They've lost their starting quarterback. I think, for all intents and purposes, their odds of doing anything this season, their season is over.
That helped the Bucks, thankfully, with the day they had.
I mean, it really didn't let the Panthers get closer, but the Bucks lose to the Bills, 44-32. You cannot count
Was
all of
not even as close as the score makes you think it was
now.
bad.
You can't count all of Josh Allen's touchdowns in one hand. You have to use at least one extra digit. You can choose if that's on your other hand or foot. I don't really care. But Josh Allen was 6 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 3 in the air. Uh, just a massive
Bucks
performance in this
Bucks
one.
defense has stopped. Would you like to have restart it? Abort, retry, ignore.
Yeah, the Todd Bowles led Buccaneers midseason annual slide has commenced.
We're
They have
we're
plenty of
used to
opportunity.
it. We've
Yeah,
been here before. We have been here before.
they have plenty of opportunity to turn things around with a lighter schedule coming up, especially with some interdivisional matchups. The big ones coming up, they got to beat the Panthers if they play them at any point the rest of the way, because that is the item in the mirror that is closer than they appear.
And you had Dion Dawkins on Keon Coleman, who was a very surprise healthy scratch due to him being late for a Bills team meeting. Quote, pats on the back are over with, and it's time for him to grow up, and he knows it. Oh boy.
Yeah, and I gotta, and this is all speculation, and we might not find out. We do in a few days. Why was he healthy scratch for tonight's game? Was it they liked what they saw on the field from the Bills against a team like Tampa Bay, and they thought, "Hey, let's just see if this group can keep rolling"? Or was it, "Hey, we're going to sit you down because you were late to this meeting," and he showed advanced immaturity and did not rectify the behavior, and they said, "Well, we're going to do it again"? That's the question that needs to be asked and answered if possible. Only time will tell. Next up, the game we all saw coming: the Jaguars 35-6 win over the Chargers. Um, uh,
Yeah,
the
because we really
Chargers.
thought the Chargers had turned the corner, and I think we've kind of given up on the Jaguars, and just when we gave up on them,
Surprise. Justin Herbert left this game briefly. Bad week. The offensive line's beat up. Kamani Vidal got hurt in this game. They are missing. They're unhealthy in a lot of ways. That didn't help. But Travis Etienne a couple of touchdowns. The Jaguars look like a much better team this week at home against the Chargers. I did mention when we talked about it, sometimes these West Coast teams coming for the early window games on the East Coast, they're out of rhythm, they're out of sync, they're not on the normal schedule, and they can come out a little bit flat. And that also happened in this one, but the Jags take care of business 35-6. And the Chargers, they fall a little bit further back in that division after the results of the rest of the week.
Yeah, you kind of have to wonder about Justin Herbert's health. Glad McConkey made you sad, McConkey, this week, and just all of a sudden, Chargers had that super hot start, and now you kind of have to wonder, is it bordering on fraudulency? And then you had the Jaguars all of a sudden wondering if they were fraudulent, but now they're kind of coming back to the team that beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Jaguars have one of the best strength and victory rate metrics in the NFL. That's why I think they currently would be the seventh seed in the AFC playoffs. They beat good teams and they lose to bad teams. It's kind of the inverse of the Miami Dolphins. And that's an interesting way to play. I don't know if it's going to last, but we'll move on. The Bears,
Yeah,
another
because you look
team
at
that
how
I think we're going to find out. Oh, go ahead.
no, because you look at how the Chargers end up starting off, beating the Chiefs, then coming back and not missing a beat, and now all of a sudden starting to miss a beat.
Yeah. The Bears. I don't know if I believe them. I don't know if I believe in them for sure. But they win over the Vikings 19-17. They are 7-3, and after this week, sit alone on top of the NFC North, a game above the Lions, a game and a half ahead of the Packers, or a half game ahead of the Packers. I'm sorry. The Bears have beaten some really bad teams. They beat the Giants, I think, when they still had Russell Wilson. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Bengals. I think they had a Jake Browning game with the Bengals. Giants game was when they knocked out Jackson Darts, so they got enough Russell Wilson. That's when they won that game. They've beaten the 9-led Vikings, which, by the way, just stop with the 9 thing until you're good, at least. Um, so 7-3, it's been on a soft schedule. I mean, we talk about Denver, but Denver's at least got wins over Kansas City and Philadelphia that we think are good teams. The Bears' upcoming schedule, it gets tough pretty quick. I know they've got the Eagles. They've got a couple against the Packers. I believe they've got the Cowboys as well. Or not the Cowboys in there. Who else was? Green Bay. Chicago has Philadelphia. This week is against Pittsburgh, which is not a cakewalk. So they're gonna show if they are for real or not this week and the next few weeks as they get into the teeth of their schedule. But the Bears 7-3. You can't knock them for not being on top of the division because they are. And the Vikings fall to 4-6, and there's major questions around quarterback J.J. McCarthy's ability to lead this team.
When they talk about when he refers to himself as number 9, that's going to be the number of losses, right?
I think they'd be lucky to only stop at 9. And I heard someone, I think it was a fantasy footballer, say that this whole 9 persona and how it goes and rewires the brain neurons and does this reminds you a little bit of the eccentricity of Russell Wilson, and I don't mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, and how about this? Ben Johnson, Ryan, 11 games into his head coaching career, has exceeded the number of road wins with 4 that Matt Eberflus had in his entire 2.5 year tenure.
Ooh,
Is
that's
that
not great.
bad?
That's not good. Um,
Only had 3.
yeah, I believe the Bears also have 5 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter, so they've been winning close games against bad teams. Again, I'm
And I
interested
did,
what the Bears are, but I don't buy them yet. I want to see them beat a team like Philadelphia, Green Bay, Detroit before I say they're for real.
and I didn't realize how cringy the whole 9 thing was until I saw it, and I'm like, oh my god, that is freaking cringy as hell.
Yeah, he's.
Dude, call yourself JJ.
I'll say this: as someone who does not root for the school up north in the rivalry between Ohio State and them, he really is what we assume Michigan people are: whiny, neurotic weirdos. But anyways, we'll move on. Next up, speaking of people on fraud alert, the Green Bay Packers beat the Giants 27-20. Um, Russell Wilson did not play in this game. It was Jameis Winston, and he put a scare into the Packers. Christian Watson with 2 touchdowns in this one. Jordan Love got hurt for a little bit. Josh Jacobs got hurt for
Wasn't it?
knocked out this game.
Wasn't even Dobbs banged up a little bit?
Dobbs got beat up in this game. We'll see if Jacobs misses this week. He has got a knee contusion.
You had Abdul Carter who was sitting out the 6 plays because of all that
Yeah,
craziness.
yeah, but that's what it is. But the Packers get the job done. They go to 6-3-1. They hold on to a playoff spot for right now. The Giants fall to 2-9, and I mean they were decent in
Famous,
the dead cat bounce game.
famous Jameis got some action going there. Theo Johnson, not too bad.
No, Jackson Dart though expected back this week, clearing the concussion protocol. It looks like at least, so keep an eye on that.
You think they're going to tell him less running?
I think they have to. I mean, John Gruden does the pre-draft talking episodes with all the rookie quarterbacks, and they told him right then, you got to stop this. You're going to get into the concussion protocol a lot if you do this, and he has been.
Then, of
All right.
course, we had the spit gate at Heinz Field, not Acrisure. It's freaking Heinz.
Yeah. Steelers win 34-12 in a game that was closer for the most part. Steelers kind of blow this one open late. Um, even with the injury to Aaron Rodgers, to Jalen Warren, Gainwell comes in relief, plays a good game. Rudolph plays a good game in relief. The Bengals offense really struggled to get it going. Jalen Ramsey shut down Jamar Chase, which is part of why the whole fighting and spitting came out. Even though Ramsey got ejected from the game, it didn't get better for the Bengals. And yeah, for them, they fall to 3-7. They're 3 game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the Steelers do not strike me as a team that's got supreme confidence going forward.
Because you never know which Steelers offense is going to show up. Last week it was almost non-existent in the prime time game, and this week is almost they end up losing by the same score that they end up getting beaten by last week, if
Yeah.
memory serves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very inconsistent team. If their defense shows up, their offense shows up, they're going to be one of the best teams in football. But when one of them doesn't show up, they're a middle of the pack team. And if both don't show up, they look like a dumpster fire. And more often than not, at least one side's been showing up. But
Because it's like the locker room might be happy that they have less drama with George Pickens now in Dallas, but when they're looking at that offense and you have DK Metcalf, you need somebody on the other side, and that somebody on the other side was the person they traded away, George Pickens.
you mean number 2 in NFL receiving yards, George Pickens, only behind JSN, George Pickens? Yeah, that guy who's been, I guess, okay for Dallas as the number 2 yardage receiver in the NFL this year. That George Pickens, yeah, they could probably use a guy like that. If only they knew where they could have gotten one. Just like the Dallas Cowboys. If only they could have found a Micah Parsons somewhere.
They're one player away. Remember, Ryan, one player.
It always bothers me when you get rid of star players, they go somewhere else and they're great, and then your team has a glaring hole, and you go, "What can we do about it?" Well, maybe not get rid of the guy in the first place. All right, moving on to
Yeah,
Texans tried to lose a game to the Titans, 13-16 winners. They move to 5-5. We'll see them tonight on Thursday Night Football. The Titans are a bad team. There's no other way to say it other than the "we asked" comments from their quarterback Cam Ward.
yeah, especially when you have fans showing up in We Ass shirts and they're being asked to turn them inside out or they're going to be ejected. That pretty much tells you how the entire season is going. And Calvin Ridley, as mentioned, yeah, he gone and probably having a better time that he's doesn't have to play right now.
Yeah, I think anybody who can escape the Titans, even for a temporary amount of time, like Calvin Ridley will, is going to enjoy their time away. Um, uh, it's a bad situation, but the Texans with Davis Mills did not play great. They did get enough to get the win. The defense for the Texans is very, very good. This can be interesting to see how they do against the Bills tonight. But the Texans, they don't put scoreboard or pictures on the scorecard. They don't put pictures in the record. You beat the Titans, you move on.
Speaking of moving on to Arizona, as somehow the 49ers do it again.
Brock Purdy is back, and that was very good news for George Kittle. It was very good news for the entire offense of the 49ers. Of course, playing the Cardinals doesn't hurt. But Brock Purdy, very great in his return. They win 41-22. You mentioned Jacoby Brissett, the completions in a game, NFL record 47 out of 57. He made Michael Wilson look like, well, what we expected Marvin Harrison Jr.
185
to look like.
receiving yards for 15 freaking catches.
Yeah, and I know Greg Dortch was 6 for 66 and a touchdown. Jacoby Brissett is making average to below average wide receivers look like the Marvin Harrison Sr. Reggie Wayne combination in Indianapolis a number of years ago. But the Niners, they're 7-4. They're still holding on to a playoff spot, getting healthy, at least on the offensive side, a little bit. They got
How, how,
Pearsall back. Maybe they're going to make a little run.
how about a frustrating day for Ricky Pearsall? One reception, three targets, no gain, all that work, and he didn't even get a single yard.
First game back, they may have run him more as a distraction. They didn't need him in this one as well. Christian McCaffrey had a monster game. George Kittle had a monster game. And I think they're happy with how that offense ran. Pearsall get more involved as the weeks go on, but he is coming back from an injury that held him out for a long time. They're probably not rushing him into contact as best they can. And we move on to the other NFC West matchup where Sam
One
Darnold.
of the games of the day. Sam Darnold seeing goats again.
Yeah, he saw a lot of black jerseys intercepting with the Rams wore their rivalry uniforms. 4 interceptions from Sam Darnold. And you would think the Rams dominated this game, but it was only a 21-19 win that came on a missed last-second
Were,
field goal by the Seahawks. They had an
were
opportunity to
you
win this
like
game
me?
still.
Were you willing that ball into the field goal going, come on, come on, come on?
Let's see. I took the Rams, so no.
Oh, you weren't.
I was rooting for my pick to be right.
I'm going, no good, no good. I was going, come on, go through.
Although
Oh,
I will say this, if they would have made the kick, I would have been a little closer in that league where I played Josh Allen and my quarterback got beat by 35 and only lost by 9. So they had the Seahawks kicker because that league for some reason was kickers. Devontae Adams, 1,000 catches in his career on a 1-yard touchdown, his only catch today. So congratulations on that milestone. Kyron Williams, a solid game in this one. And Matthew Stafford, he's got to be the leader. I think he is the leader for the MVP odds right now.
and you had a Seahawks linebacker, Ernest Jones, on Sam Darnold's 4 interception game. Quote, Sam has had us in every expletive game. For him to sit there and say it's his fault, no, it's not. You got anything to say, quite frankly, expletive,
F you.
you. Yeah, and then you had
Good teammate.
hmm?
Good teammate.
Good teammate. Then you had JSN, first player in NFL history to record 75 plus receiving yards in 10 straight flipping games to begin a season. And since the start of the 2024 NFL season, Sam Darnold is 0-3 against the LA Rams, Ryan, but 21-4 against the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, I think if you take out the Vikings and the Rams, he's only got 2 losses in the last 2 years. Unfortunately for him, oh no, the Lions. The Lions and the Rams. Unfortunately for him, though, he's got another game against the Rams this season in the division. And it's very possible he line up again in the playoffs. The Rams defense does something to him that brings him back to those ghost days in New Jersey with the Jets. And yeah, the Rams, though, they look like a really good team. They had an off game, beat a very good Seahawks team with that defense stepping up. They moved 8-2, first place in the NFC West, and they're battling for the number 1 overall seed in the NFC.
And then we go to a game that you didn't think the Ravens were going to be able to pull this sucker out.
I think if Shador Sanders does not get forced in this game with a concussion, they lose the game. I really firmly believe that. The Browns were up, I think, 16-6 for a while. And then when Shador came in, they just could not move the ball. The Ravens got some short fields. They got some turnovers. And they come back and win 23-16. So when you're saying, oh, the Bengals, how are they going to beat the Ravens? Well, the Ravens almost lost to the Browns and Dylan Gabriel, but they had a worse quarterback come in. I think it's still possible for the Bengals to have an impressive run to try and win this division. Quinshon Judson's not the best game. Derrick Henry had a big run and a touchdown, but outside of that was held in check pretty well. but the Ravens get the job done thanks to a Mark Andrews tush push. Nope, just kidding,
Oh,
going around the
that
right
was
side
thing of
touchdown.
oh, beauty.
Why do no? This play works probably 90% of the time. You run the tush push, you run that quarterback sneak style play. Why don't you do something like this more often? Run a fake, not like once a game even, but like I don't know, every 2-3 weeks, just sprinkle in there. Why not?
You had Mark Andrews. You had not only the touchdown, you had some nice PPR too.
Yeah, he was great in this game. But the Ravens now 5-5 after being left for dead at 1-5. They're getting healthy. Their defense is getting better. Games against the Browns doesn't hurt.
Starting the Ravens DST all of a sudden doesn't seem to be verboten anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even the Browns defense was good in this one. I think they had a pick six in this. So both defenses were good. And yeah, the Browns 2-8. Moving on to
Well,
two good
Browns,
defenses.
Browns and Raiders going to be the game of the freaking week.
I'm
Oh no,
t-
it's not.
if that game has 25 points scored, I'd be shocked.
That's another flex to 2B at 4 a.m.
Let me
coming.
rephrase. If that game has more than 14 offensive points, I would be shocked. Because I can see both defenses getting a touchdown, and then, hey, you're going to hit 25 points. The defenses might put up 25. The offenses will not. Anyways, next up, Broncos beat the Chiefs
Going to Mile High Stadium that made Perna very happy.
22-19. This is one of those games we disagreed on, and I got it right by taking the Denver Broncos to win at home over the Kansas City Chiefs.
That was close. That was
I
very,
knew it would be a close
very
game. Those
close.
divisional games get to be a little bit funky, but Bo Nix looked much better than he has in the last few weeks. RJ Harvey, very disappointing in this one, but the defense was absolutely fantastic on both sides, really. The Broncos prevail. They get it done late. They make some key plays at the key time. They're 9-2. You can say they've beaten a lot of bad teams, and they have, but they've also now beaten the Chiefs and the Eagles, both teams that represented their individual conferences in the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles right now on top of the NFC. The Broncos play to the level of their opponent, but they find a way to win more often than not, and that's why they're 9-2 in first place in the AFC.
Two things to have a quote. And the Chiefs are 0-5 in one possession games this season, Ryan. Last season, they were 11 and
And there were a
oh.
lot of fluky wins in that 11-0 last season. The blocked field goal against Denver being one of them. The phantom pass interference against Cleveland or Cincinnati was another. There were a lot of fluky wins the Chiefs got last year. They're not breaking that way this year.
And of course, I'm sure you've heard the quote from tight end Adam Troutman when asked about the online criticism of quarterback Bo Nix. Quote, we know what he's made of, and we don't really care what people have to say. So, Dragon Slayer 69 with his 7-Eleven Slurpee in his mom's basement. I don't give an expletive what he has to say, right? Bo doesn't either. You have to feel sorry for Dragon Slayer 69, Ryan.
I mean, if you're earning it, you play the stupid games, you win the stupid prize. Although I will say this, having you get called out for being that obnoxious guy, it's kind of cool. I mean, maybe change your life decisions and do better, but it's kind of cool. They heard me. They disagree with me, but they heard me at least. But yeah, the Broncos 9-2, Chiefs 5-5, and on the outside looking into the playoff picture. And with 7 weeks left, it's not a guarantee that the Chiefs are in the postseason this year.
Oh man, can you imagine? Can you just imagine the Chiefs, the sweetness, that just how good it would be to finally not having Mahomes being just absolutely talked about endlessly once it's January.
That would be great. There's also the other end of the coin where the teams that win the division are Indianapolis, New England, Denver, and Pittsburgh, and your wild card teams are Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore. Playoffs could be very interesting, is all I'm trying to say. Next up, Eagles win 16-9 over the Detroit Lions. A very good defensive game on both sides. a little bit of high wind and off night for Jared Goff, who was 2 of 12 passing to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which just does not happen. Jahmyr Gibbs is a monster, but going 0 for 5 on fourth downs. Dan Campbell, when he's bold and it works, everybody praises him for it. But there are certain times in a low scoring game like this against a great team, maybe kick the field goal. I know the wind was high. There were a couple times where it was like a 50-plus yard field goal. You're going to pass that in high wind. But there were a couple times you're down and close. You should have taken the points. And they don't, and they fall short. It's just what it is.
And the refs are bad. When Chris Collinsworth
Oh, that
called
call.
him out directly in the flipping broadcast, because you had to believe. You had to believe, not believe, but you had to believe, Ryan. Afterwards, there was a memo, a strongly worded memo from 345 Park to NBC. Oh, yes, yes, yes. We would like to talk to Mr. Collinsworth about his very public criticism of the officiating to remind him to control himself when it comes to said criticism of the NFL officiating, which is always
Yeah.
right, even when it's not.
No, there was a bad pass interference call at the end of that game for the Lions. They called defense pass interference when if there's anything, AJ Brown's pushing off. And even like Sleeper, which does not have mercy, sent out a notification. Refs wanted to go home with a link to show that play. They said no, the refs don't want to be here. They were done with it. So hey, it was a bad call. It's not a
The
guarantee that if they don't make the call, the Lions go down and score. They scored 9 points all night. They needed a touchdown to go to overtime. No guarantee it changes the outcome of the game. But
the refs are like Stephen A. when he was attending the Cowboys game and he put his hand on Jerry's shoulder. I'm out.
I'm ahead out. Yeah. All right, let's move on to those Cowboys who won 33-16 over the Raiders. They did Marshawn Nealon proud. They had some shirts and helmet decals in this game. And then the Cowboys, after a slow start, went to just desecrating the Raiders.
Yeah, desecrating is a pretty darn good description. I mean, I was tuned into this game for the first half because that was pretty much when it was competitive on like the second half, and I was waiting because I was for my Drake May team. I knew because my opponent was up like about six, and so I was waiting because you know how fantasy football is. Fantasy football, like okay, so what's my Monday night miracle? My Monday night miracle is I'm gonna lose because all my opponents are done. I'm up by six. They have George Pickens. That means I'm totally screwed,
Yeah.
and I lost because I was waiting for either the Pickens long run or the touchdown. Both of them happened at the same time. And that's turn out the lights. The party's over.
Yeah. That league, man. That league. But yeah,
Let me,
touchdowns for Pickens, for Flournoy, for Lamb, and for Ferguson. 4 touchdown passes for Dak Prescott. Still a pretty good night for Javonte Williams, even though he didn't find the end zone. 6 carries for 7 yards for Ashton Genty. Now, I want to say this first and foremost. It is a Raiders problem that he is that bad. However, at some point you have to look at the player and go, Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devin Achan have been in bad situations and overcome it and been great players. Why isn't Genty doing it? Now, is it bad play calling? Is it just a god awful offensive line? Are the opponents saying, hey, we're putting it in the box? Genty's not beating us because we know Geno Smith damn well can't. That's the question that I think you need more analytics to figure it out. But you're starting to worry that Ashton Genty is a fraud. That everybody said, oh, he's from Boise State. It's a small school. He didn't play anybody. Might have been right.
two things from this game: an observation, and then you have to feel sorry for Geno Smith quote. The thing from this game, I was listening and realized when the last time, because you haven't realized how many coaches that they have had since they last had a good one. I was listening to Patrick Maher on Mad Dog, not last night, but the night before, going how many coaches they have had. The last good coach they had was Gruden.
Yeah, they've had 5 in 5 years.
And it's absolutely crazy. crazy because how many went through. Gruden, of course, was sacrificed as a part of that whole thing to get Dan Snyder out, and he was caught in the crossfire. I think
Yeah.
they did him dirty. And the quote. And the quote, yeah, but it's just amazing. It's amazing how many bad coaches, McDaniels, who now is a good coordinator elsewhere,
He's a
but
great coordinator. He's not a head coach. There's a
what he
lot of
was
guys that are great coordinators, not a head coach. You look at guys like Adam Gase. You look at guys like possibly Mike McDaniels. You look at Robert Saleh with the defensive coordinator. There are guys that are just coordinators, and then you have guys like Ben Johnson who look like they can handle the head coaching responsibilities, and maybe
and poor Gino. You have to feel for Gino, who during his press conference says, talking about his struggles offensively, quote, I keep saying this. If something doesn't look right out there, blame it on me. If your kids mess up at school, blame it on me. If your car breaks down going to work, blame it on me. You gotta feel for Gino.
yeah, he's come a long way from they wrote me off and I didn't write back to now being blamed for people having bad cars and breaking down. The Raiders are 2-8. The Cowboys 4-5-1. Maybe they can get hot and get in that playoff mix as well, but only time will tell. Let's go. You got something else here?
Oh, I'll save losers for next one since I know we've gone on for a while, so we need to go to
Yeah.
final thoughts.
Well, let's do the game first. We got Buffalo and Houston tonight in
Oh, right.
Texas.
Yeah, 5.5 Buffalo favorite. I last checked.
Yeah, that sounds about right. No Stroud in this game, still dealing with those concussion symptoms. He should be back in week number 13. Short week probably got
5.5,
him on this one.
44.5 over under minus 258. Not surprisingly from the Bills.
I expect this to be a very low scoring game. For the Bills, you're playing Josh Allen, you're playing James Cook. No Dalton Kincaid once again. So if you want to take a shot at a wide receiver, maybe it's Shakir who had a terrible week last week. Maybe take a guy like Shavers,
The
or maybe you
wheel
just
of
say,
game.
no, I'm not playing a receiver in this game for the Bills. For the Texans, Nico Collins is going to be in your starting lineup. I think Woody Marks is a sneaky good play because Buffalo, while a good team, is not great against the run. We saw Sean Tucker light them up last week for Tampa Bay, and Sean Tucker, no offense to him, he's not an elite running back in the NFL. But
Agreed.
Nico Collins, Woody Marks, I think desperation you can go Dalton Schultz, but that's probably it. Not a big fantasy game for either side. I think Houston, their defense and Buffalo's defense are both in play in this one. I don't think there's going to be a disagreement here. I know where I'm going with Joel. Who do you got?
Yeah, because I know you can definitely make the case for Dave the Neck Mills has been doing unbelievable in the absence of C.J. Stroud. But you're looking at Josh Allen, you're looking at Dave Mills, and you got to give the game and the edge to the better quarterback because Josh Allen showed even down Dalton Kincaid, even down Keon Coleman. Didn't matter if he had Gabe Davis in there, didn't matter with Cole Hardman. It just didn't matter. He still threw 6 flipping touchdowns. I don't think we're going to get quite that many this week, especially on a short week, especially against a good defense like Texas. But picking an ugly game, but I have to roll with the Bills Mafia here.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills as well. I just think they're too good of a team. I do know anytime you got a team like Houston who's got an elite defense, we see this with Denver all the time. They're going to be in games. It's going to be a sneaky close game. I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think Buffalo pulls it out. It might Houston may cover in this one, but I'm not 100% sure. But we're both down Buffalo. Quickly through the the playoff picture, AFC. The Broncos are the number 1 seed at 9-2. Patriots and Colts 2-3. Steelers are at 4. Bills at 5. Chargers at 6. Jaguars at 7. Those Texans are in 8th, right on that playoff bubble. At 9, the Kansas City Chiefs. At 10, the Baltimore Ravens, just ahead of the Miami Dolphins at 4-7. Bengals, Raiders, Jets, Browns, Titans surround the conference. In the NFC, the Eagles are first at 8-2, tied with the Rams on record, but with the head-to-head win, they have the tiebreaker, so the Rams are number 2. The Bears, 7-3, third in
Woo-hoo.
the NFC. The Buccaneers still holding on to the NFC South. They're the 4th seed.
Somehow,
Seahawks,
can you imagine if the Panthers managed to somehow come back and upset the NFC South? Somehow.
there's always a team that goes worst to first, and The Bears are making a case for it. The Patriots are making a case for it, and the Panthers are. I mean, they
Watch
weren't
out,
worse the
folks.
first.
Watch out. Watch out. You have curse wheel this week, Panthers.
Yeah,
Watch
yeah,
out.
we'll see. Seahawks at 5, Packers at 6, 49ers holding on to the 7th spot. The Lions are on the outside looking in at the 8 seed at 6 and 4. Panthers 6 and 5, the 9 seed. The Cowboys are 10. 11th is the Vikings, 12, Cardinals, Falcons, Commanders, Saints, Giants in that order the rest of the way. I don't think anybody's been mathematically eliminated, even though the Titans basically were as soon as the draft ended last season. All right, let's go to final thoughts. We'll start with Joe.
Final thoughts. Well, we started off with a little zany and a little craziness, and I'm gonna I'm gonna do a you, Ryan. I'm going to do a
Oh
you
no!
with a serious final thought
Oh
because
no!
I was just thinking, I was walking along the internet way, and all of a sudden I saw a story, and I was like, what? Because you apparently had an ad pop up during Monday Night Football about, and going to try to get as non political as I possibly can with this because I know I've always tried to have a personal prime directive to try to avoid politics. But this is important. This is important because you had an ad pop up from the Epstein survivors on Monday Night Football. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that is this an important issue? Yes, it is. By far, by no stretch of the imagination. But that being said, there is a time and a place, Ryan, I'm sure, that you will agree for politics or something of this nature. Is this something that needs to be addressed? Is this something that needs to be brought out forth into the open, brought into the light of day? Yes to all of those. But when you tune in to a Monday night football game, even the commercials, you're expecting to see things sports or sports related. Another stupid, dumb car commercial. What's
Yeah.
the new TV thing coming out? What's the new dumb movie that Hollywood's coming out? All right, it's time for a Top Gun 25. Maverick is somehow still alive. But the last thing I think anybody wants to see is something political, and this doesn't just apply to this particular instance
Yeah,
because we
nobody likes political ads. I know we're not in election time right now, but you know as well as I do, next September, October, when you have the midterms and you have some of the governor races and they pop up and they're county people. When I went to Virginia, they had the special election up there, and it was horrific how many ads for politics there were.
we are tuning in to try to get away from politics. So when you tune into sports, whether it's hockey, even when Victor Hedman's out for a little while, that's a major bummer for the Lightning there. But yeah, when you tune into hockey, when you tune into basketball, when you tune into baseball when it's in season, when you tune into Monday night football or Sunday night or whatever, you're trying to get away from the world. The sports is our oasis. It's like we're stepping into another universe, getting away from everything, and we just want to get away from all that for a while. Is something like that important? Yes, but it's a time and a place for the news talk shows, for the political talk shows, whether left, whether right, for the evening news, for the morning news, for all the news. But the time and the place is not during a football game. And even though you have kids of all ages watching, and it's just, we're wanting to get away. We want our oasis. Is it appropriate for a time and a place? Yes, a different time and a place, but it is not appropriate. And not only just that, but once again, anything political, you just brought up the midterms, or when it's the main election in November, can we please just keep politics out of football? Rant over, rant done, and that's my final thought.
The good news is you probably won't see that out again because the files they did vote this week to release those files. So we should find out everything that was in there.
I'm trying to figure out
And
who the one
side
person
note,
was. One,
the
I'm
one
trying
who
to figure
voted
out who the
against
one
it,
person was that voted against.
it's out there, and their reasoning was really, really dumb. It was just not real. But I don't support pedophiles, so I'm glad this is happening. But anyways,
Yeah,
my
we
final
normally
thoughts.
yeah, well, I normally don't get political, but that torqued me off.
Yeah, I get you. When you're watching something that's supposed to be an escape from reality and they interject reality, it's kind of a bummer. Again, you and I on different sides of a lot of political issues. We get along just fine. I think we can both say we don't like pedophiles. I'm willing to be bold and brave and say I don't support pedophilia. So, Joel, I hope you can join me in that.
Amen.
but
Agreed.
yeah, I mean I understand why they put ads like that in football because football is the number one TV show. I think 91 of the top 100 episodes or shows for viewership are football games between college, NFL. I think the other seven are like the Emmys and the Oscars and like that. It's mostly football, so I get why they put it there. For me, the final thoughts can be very, very short and simple. There's a list that Macklin Celebrini of the San Jose Sharks did join this week as being one of the very few players in NHL history to have scored 30 points in the first 20 games of a season before the age of 20. The list of names is now Macklin Celebrini, Sidney Crosby, Mario Lemieux, and Wayne Gretzky. That's a pretty good list. It's a lot of Stanley Cups. And there's some comparisons with Bedard, who went to the Blackhawks the year before, and Macklin Celebrini being the next generation Crosby, Ovechkin head-to-head matchup, and both of them found great success, won Stanley Cup. So as a Sharks fan, I'm liking the comparisons. The Sharks, they're not a top team quite yet, but they are 500 or so. They are right now, well, 3 games out of the last playoff spot, but they have 21 points in 20 games. This is a team that's averaged about 60 points the last couple of years, if that. So, hey, you've got
And you
generational talent. He's doing what he's got to do at a young age, and he looks hungry to get better. It's great news for the Sharks.
and you brought
And
up
it's just an impressive milestone.
hockey, so I do have to bring up David Hughes from the Devils, who apparently be careful at team dinners because he's now sidelined after a freak dinner accident.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to assume it had something to do with a fork or a knife going in a place that it shouldn't have gone. Anywho, that's our time. I am Flying Ryan Gophers along with.
Tampa Motor Mouth overall.
I'm going to hop off and get some dinner and hope to not have an unmentionable incident with some utensils. We'll be back tomorrow for the rest of week 12. It's already week 12. It's already getting playoff for fantasy is only 3.5 weeks away.
We're sad.
It's been quick. It's always too quick. But we'll be back tomorrow with the rest of week 12. We'll recap the game from tonight.
And we'll figure out what the gobble gobble week schedule is.
Yeah. That's probably going to be one big episode. I think we usually
Okay.
skip the recaps or just hit the highlights like we have and then do most of the picks. But
Yeah, that'll be
yeah,
like, okay, that game sucked. That game sucked. That game sucked. This game was
yeah,
good. Let's talk about it.
we'll highlight the good ones. We'll just throw scores out on the bad ones. And that Browns Raiders game is going to be a steaming pile of crap.
I'm waiting to see Tree's recap of that one. Oh,
It's going to be bad. It's going to be real, real bad. And with that, we go.